Well, folks, T-minus 5 weeks until Election Day, and Vice President Kamala Harris is tackling an issue that has hurt her so far in the polls. Our Ben Bascuk is here to explain why she went to this week's Talking Points toss-up state, Arizona. Hey, Ben.
Hi guys, yeah, she took a brief visit to Arizona. The Harris campaign is kind of trying to flip-flop the script on immigration through this visit to the southern border. This issue has been a vulnerability for her. In a CNN poll released last week, 50% of registered voters said they trust Trump for the job on immigration, while just 34% said the same for Harris. Now, Harris spoke to crowds during her brief trip last Friday to southwest Arizona, where she proposed tighter asylum restrictions, vowing to crack down on the flow of fentanyl, very much emphasizing her role as a former prosecutor. Now, what she was saying is that she's blaming Trump for immigration, right? She's taking blame on him and saying, you rejected the border bill that went through the Senate. Obviously, he disagrees and points the finger right back at Harris. Now, last week in Michigan, Trump vowed the, quote, largest deportation in American history. He bit right back at Harris in that Michigan rally, saying a lot of this is her fault, with 10.1 million immigrants surging in over the border, blaming the Biden administration for this influx in immigration, even though after they recharacterized what they count as encounters, he still blames her at the end of the day. And so they're pointing fingers at each other, and the National Border Patrol Council Vice President Art DeQuelto expressed his frustrations with the 10.1 million as well, illegal entries since the Biden-Harris administration took office in 2020. So again, lots of people on both sides of this issue, especially in the union itself, speaking out against Harris. The head of the National Sheriff's Department also spoke out against Harris, saying that this was really just a photo op, that this really didn't mean a whole lot, especially for the people of southwest Arizona. And with the vice presidential debate tomorrow night and the election quickly approaching, we know voters want action on the border, but some doubt is that either party is capable of producing that action.
Ben, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. We know that the border is a big issue in that state, but has the rhetoric from Donald Trump and J.D. Vance on immigrants hurt their standing with Latino voters? Our Harrison Calder is here to break down a new poll from NBC News and Telemundo that's tracking that issue. Harrison, good evening.
Luke, good evening. Exactly right. Two of the big things to focus on in this upcoming election are looking at what people's primary issues are, as well as demographics. And here's one demographic right here. Latino voters from this NBC News poll we're looking at, 54% favoring Kamala Harris. On the other side, 40% for Donald Trump. And even though that may look like a large gap and a big advantage for Harris, it's really not. When you look at past years, it is a large drop-off. You look at now with its plus 14 in favor of the Democrats. 2020 was plus 33 for Joe Biden over Donald Trump. Even going back to 2016, you have plus 38 with Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump. And then 2012 had Barack Obama beating Mitt Romney by 44 points. So that is a huge drop-off in putting the Democrats in a tougher spot in terms of Latino voting. And then when you look at Arizona and how the polls are looking this upcoming election between Trump and Harris, Harris holding a slight lead of 48 to 47%, not a large gap, but change that to the Senate race between Ruben Gallego and Kari Lake. It is a large difference. That is a lot there, 56% to 42%. So you can tell that Gallego has a very strong lead and definitely in control of this one. So we'll see how Kari Lake and her team is able to respond in the last 40-some days left.
Harrison, very interesting numbers coming out of Arizona. We're joined now back at the desk with Ben Bascuk. Ben, why do you think there's such a gap between Kari Lake and Donald Trump?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a candidate right here with Kari Lake, somebody who Trump endorsed in the past, somebody who capitalized really on election denying in her own race as well as the presidential race. And we look at where she stands with independents, because at the end of the day, Arizona's in the Sun Belt. Those independents are going to decide in the presidential election as well as the Senate race. And she's polling, a mayor's poll came out, said that Gallego is 64%. She's only at around 32% with those independents. Not sure if she's going to be able to swing that over the next 5 weeks. I mean, there is still some time left, but we'll have to see if she's capable of doing that.
Yeah. Ben, Kari Lake used to be just like us. I mean, she was a local news anchor.
Radio announcer. I don't know about just like us. I don't know.
I see a lot of similarities with Luke.
Same here.
But speaking of similarities, we talk about how much Kari Lake and Trump have both hit on immigration.